Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Homestand, the official podcast of the Kansas City Royals. I'm your host, Carrie Gillespie, and I am so excited to be welcomed today by our guest, Royals alumni and current Royals broadcaster, Jeremy Guthrie.
Thanks for having me, Carrie. Great to be here.
How does it sound to hear that? Current Royals broadcaster.
Feels good. I love it. We have such a great team. The guys have been so much fun to be with, and the fans are fun. The guys on the team are incredible. So it just feels like you're back part of the Royals family after a sabbatical for 6 seasons.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that. But first, we want to start by getting to know you a little bit more. You are from Oregon, and you live, am I saying it right? Oregon. Tell me how you say it.
Definitely Oregon.
Oregon.
Not
okay.
Oregon.
Okay, you never know.
No, you do know. It's Oregon. You do know. Yep, I'm back in Oregon. My family and I, we live in Portland. My wife is from Portland, and I'm from a small town called Ashland on the southern border.
Okay.
And so we're up north. My parents are still about 4 hours away from us. And
it's a beautiful state. Very, if you're an outdoorsy person, I've actually never been there, but I see pictures and I'm like, is this the coast of Ireland? It's beautiful there.
It's the most beautiful. That's one of the reasons we want to be back. We love the people, but we really love the climate and just the mountains and everything about it. So it is as nice of a place as you could ever go visit.
Besides Kansas City.
Yes, besides Kansas City. I mean, yes.
So tell us what you were like as a child. Were you always athletic, or did you have other hobbies and interests? I read that you were an Eagle Scout.
I was an Eagle Scout. My dad asked us that we get our Eagle Scout before we get our license. So if we got our Eagle Scout award, then he would help us get a car. He sold used cars, so cars were not the issue. The license were. And so I was an Eagle Scout. My project was to build bookshelves for disadvantaged children in the elementary school, and we gave them to him as Christmas gifts. Oh. And it was really touching. I remember the kids, you thinking as you're doing it are they going to really love a bookshelf? But somehow that was the idea presented to us by the school that we did it for. And when they got their bookshelves, they were just hugging them and whoa, don't knock them over. But they were every bit as tall as the children. And who knows, maybe they have their books on it. They had their names on the side of the bookshelf. So that was one of the rewarding things that I did in my scouting life, or my scouting program.
You got it before you were 16. I've always thought that they get it when they're a senior in high. Is that early to get it?
No, I actually got it when I was 16 and a half, which is kind of late.
Okay.
A lot of kids get it earlier and earlier each time. It's not uncommon to find a 13, 14-year-old that has achieved their Eagle Scout award.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah.
For all of you that don't know, the Eagle Scout is the highest honor of Boy Scouts. And it really is a big project that you undertake. You choose what you're going to do. And it's a big honor. Not a lot of people go through and all the way to the top. So it's a big honor.
Yeah, you learn a lot of skills. You have to earn merit badges. So you might earn a merit badge on personal finance, first aid, camping. National citizenship is one of the ones I earned. And then you have to earn other ranks by doing particular things. Mostly it's things for other people. It's serving other people, leadership skills that the scouting program is attempting to help young people learn.
And all that time you were doing other sports as well. It was baseball, basketball, football, correct?
Yeah, you asked so I always enjoyed sports. My dad played football in college, a small school called Southern Oregon College, where my older brother eventually played football as well, some 30 years later. And so we were always doing sports. I played all three, like you said, basketball, football, baseball. Football was my favorite, although in any given time I loved whatever sport I was playing. But the one that I played most of the year was football. So basketball was really only played during basketball season, baseball during baseball season, and the rest was all football.
When did you realize that you were good?
At what?
At life. No.
At life.
At baseball.
Oh, geez. Good at baseball. I threw hard when I was young.
Okay.
So inherently you're going to be good if you throw hard.
Yes.
Most kids are scared of you, but I would never consider myself good. I probably thought I was good at baseball when I was at Stanford, honestly. At 21 years old was the first time I ever really had good success where I was beating good teams and good players and pitching consistently. So probably strange to say that, but I had success growing up, but I just never thought I was that good at it. I just thought I threw hard, which gave me the advantage.
Yeah, it does when you're that age, for sure. Now, you started at BYU. You did a year there and then transferred to Stanford. You guys, we got a smarty pants on our hands right here. Stanford is extremely hard to get into, so I got to toot your horn a little bit there. And you studied sociology while you were there, correct?
Well, the best way to get into any school is to be really good at a sport.
Okay.
For the most part. And they start paying for school too. So
That's true.
You get in, and on top of that, they give you money to get in. So that was probably my greatest asset. I did work hard in school. I was a straight A student. I was a valedictorian, but I wasn't super intelligent. I just...
you guys, I don't believe this.
No, I'm telling you, if you're watching this, if you want to get good grades, I believe most students have the capacity to do it. Now, granted, there are some that no matter how much you study, the information you can't retain it super well. But I was smart, but what I did is I really worked hard.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even take a lunch break during my entire high school career. I would always go, or my high school years, I would go to the teachers. And because I played sports, I would have to go in before school and get help. And I took some hard classes. And so I made a goal. That's really what it came down to. I had a plan and a goal to be a straight A student in high school. And so everything I did fed into that. How was I going to accomplish that goal? I needed to work extra hard. I needed to be prepared. And I think in some cases I probably wasn't deserving of an A, but the teacher recognized the effort. And I think that's important for students to know as well. If you give a good effort, a lot of times the difference can be made up by someone that's understanding or cares about you. And so I had really, fantastic teachers at my high school. And that paved the way, along with the 98-mile-an-hour fastball, to be able to go to Stanford.
Yes.
But I think independent of 98 miles per hour, I probably still would have ended up at a good school, but not Stanford good.
So studying sociology, what was your interest in? Like, if you say in another world you didn't get drafted, didn't play baseball, like what would you have done with that?
I wanted to work at Nike. So sociology is the study of interaction amongst people. And so I had classes. Well, this is, people that really, really know me know that I love The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. And this is, I'll tell you why. One of my sociology classes was about relationships. And so we had to watch season 1 of The Bachelor. And this is, oh my gosh, what's the guy's name? I don't even remember the contestant's name, but I know faces.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I can't remember his name, but we had to study and dissect that entire season. And from there on, I was very interested in The Bachelor and Bachelorette, and maybe because of what I learned, but also, just learning about the people and seeing how it all went down. So I had a class like that. I had a negotiation class, which was really, really fun. You would be given a task of what you needed to get out of the deal, and each of the two sides had something they needed to get, and then there was a gray area, and it was really essentially who could get the most out of the gray area to see who won. And we read this really cool book called The Art of Negotiation.
Yes, great book. So that was kind of the plan if you didn't, excel in baseball, but you did, and you were a first-round draft pick. Did you know that, you kind of know when you're going to get picked high. Like, what was the process like in your head of like, this is what I'm going to do and this is the path I'm going to take? How were you feeling as like a 21-year-old kid?
Well, it's probably unfair to jump to that draft. I was drafted 3 times. I was drafted in high school at 18 years old. I was drafted as a sophomore at 22, and I was drafted again at 23 years old, which is when I signed. Okay. And so you always have somewhat of an idea if you're going to get drafted because teams talk to you. Mm-hmm. They come visit you. They came to my house in high school. They visited me in college. The second time I was drafted, the first time was the New York Mets, the second time was the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the last time was the Cleveland Indians at the time. And so what's going to happen because of the conversations. I anticipated being a first-round draft pick with Cleveland, which was a huge accomplishment. I felt really fulfilled and grateful that I had gotten to that point, especially at 23 years old. And so it was very different in those days. All it was a phone call, and you really couldn't follow it. Maybe on the internet you could follow. I didn't. I just waited for my phone call, and they called me in my dorm room and said, hey, we picked you with the 22nd pick. We look forward to speaking with you. We want to bring you out to Cleveland and announce that we've drafted you and hopefully get to announce to the world that we signed you to a contract.
Oh my gosh, wow. So why did it feel right at that time? I mean, I'm assuming the first 2 times you weren't picked high enough to, of what you wanted. So then you just re-enter and they pick you. But obviously it felt right this time. The first round, you can't get much better than that.
That actually makes me think of something funny. I was in the College World Series in Omaha as a junior, or as a sophomore, and there was this All-American pitcher that was a senior. And he was speaking, his dad was speaking to my dad. And as a senior, he was drafted, I think, in the 3rd or 4th round, which was really good. And he told my dad, now we feel like it's the right time to sign. And my dad's like, well, when else would you sign? You're a senior. Like, you have no other option.
Yeah.
So I probably felt the same way at 23 years old as a junior. I really didn't have any other time. That might be the oldest first-round draft pick ever. I don't know. I tried to verify that, so I can't say it for sure. But if it was ever going to happen, it needed to happen then. Why didn't it happen the first 2 times? The first time was very different. I had goals in life, like I talked about with grades. I wanted to be a missionary for my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I needed to do that at 19 years old. I wanted to do that. And so I tried my best to negotiate a contract that would allow me to both be a missionary for 2 years from 19 to 21 and then come back and begin my career then as a baseball player. And the GM at the time, Steve Phillips, said that's not an option. And so he made me choose between one or the other. And I made the choice to go to college for a year and then go and be a missionary. And I did that in Spain. So my heart, I love Spain. Anyone who knows me knows I talk about Spain. I visit as often as I possibly can. And those 2 years were really formative, and they really made me a much better baseball player. In addition, and more importantly, a better person, and I think just a better husband, father, friend in every way. And so that's what those 2 years did for me. And then the second time when I was drafted in the 3rd round, I was really far away from graduating at Stanford. I was still not even a sophomore because of all the credits that I lost when I went to Spain and transferred from BYU. And so at that point, the money was good. The draft position was the 3rd round. That was good, but I just felt like I could do better. And I felt like I wanted to get closer to graduation. So I went back 1 more year.
Oh my gosh, that's so impressive. All of that. So when you were doing your mission for 2 years, the standard mission is 2 years, were you not playing at all during that time?
I didn't know. I didn't take a glove. I didn't play catch for 2 years. And so I didn't do push-ups, I don't think. I didn't run. I walked a lot. I walked about 8 miles a day talking to people in the streets, but that was it.
Gutsy, that's insane. That's crazy. You took a 2-year break and then you come back and you're just like, oh, I think I'll go to the 1st round now. Like,
no, I had to go to the 3rd round first, but then the 1st round. Yeah, no, I think, I tell kids all the time, if someone tells you you can't accomplish something, number one, you can, and you should believe that. And for everyone, it's different, right? Some people have a strong faith in a God. Others have strong faith in other things. But if you believe in what you believe, you can know that anything can happen. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I attribute. I don't attribute it to myself. I just feel like it was in the plan for me, and that if I could do my best in everything that I was trying to do, that it would all work out. And it has, and it did. And so I'm really grateful. And I still attribute that 2 years off and my time in high school where I didn't throw a whole bunch as a pitcher to helping me stay healthy throughout my 15-year career. I never went on the DL except for a bicycle accident that I had, which was unrelated. But I think all of those things helped me in the long run as well, physically.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's insane. So you finally made your debut in 2004. And you've done a lot of different things. You played in the World Baseball Classic in 2009. Like, you've done so many cool things. You were a part of some really, really successful teams here with the Royals. Like, it's just to soak that all in. You've really accomplished so much. And I know you were talking, was it your son to the All-Star game? And I heard you making a joke yesterday that, I never made it there as a player. And you didn't, but still, you have done so many cool things. You were in the College World Series and also in like the MLB World Series. It's impressive. It's so impressive.
Well, I appreciate that. It's, I'm really grateful for all of it. When people ask, you pitched game 7, you lost, how did you feel afterward? The one word that comes to my mind is grateful. How many other pitchers have pitched a game 7? I think we know the answer. It's like 76 or 78 of us have done that, started a game 7, but I'm just grateful for all of the opportunities that came my way and tried to make the most of them. I think that's what I tried my best to do. Wherever I was, wherever I am still, to try to maximize it and really take as much out of it as you can and enjoy it to the maximum. I went to an All-Star game when I was 10 years old in Anaheim. I saw Bo Jackson hit the leadoff home run off Rick Rushell, and I saw Wade Boggs hit the second home run. And so I was there as a 10-year-old in the upper deck in the old Anaheim Stadium. And so my son at 12 years old now has memories of getting to watch, J-Rod hit 41 home runs in the Home Run Derby and then see the All-Star game in Seattle.
Yeah, what a memory he's got too. Take us back to yesteryear and take us back to those pivotal games. I mean, I think being a starting pitcher in general, your day comes around every 5 days or whatever the rotation is. It's your day on the mound. And you kind of just got to zone in and do your job. So I think there's a lot of pressure on any given Tuesday or random day when you're on the mound. But to be in those high stakes situations, take us back to what that's like in a mental capacity and how you're going about your thing.
Yeah, so when I was young, people asked, did I get nervous? And the answer is no, I never really got nervous in baseball. And I think that's a function of a couple things. Number one, you have to have talent. But I think what's the root of talent? It's work. It's work ethic, it's preparation. And so a way to reduce any nerves or kind of concern when you go into competition, whether that's athletic or whether that might be musical or otherwise, there's all kinds of competition that we have in our lives, right? Maybe we want to do the best we can on a test or make friends, make a good impression with someone. It's about preparation. So figure out what would best help you prepare for that. Put a lot of time and effort into that, and then just try to relax as best you can once you get into that moment that you're preparing for. And I felt that way about my baseball career, whether it was game 7 or whether it was an opening day or whether it was just a start in the middle of May. I tried my best to prepare in the days leading up so that I could trust that I was going to do the best I could do. And so that's one thing that's really, really super important to me in my life, is recognizing that real true success is not the outcome of your performance or your actions, whatever you're doing. The true success is having a plan and then committing yourself to doing everything in that plan that then puts you in the best spot to succeed or to have the outcome that you desire. And then also accepting it, whether win, lose, or draw, whatever happens, say, I did the best I was capable of doing, and I can be happy with that, and that for me is success. Success is the peace of mind, as John Wooden said, that is the result of self-satisfaction and knowing you did your best to become the best you're capable of becoming.
Yeah. There's a saying that's like, when you're fruitful or faithful in the small things, then you can be faithful in the bigger things. And I think that what you're hitting on, the preparation and the aspect of it, putting in like that little work day after day and having it amount to really big things, like being in the World Series at Game 7. Can you tell us what your emotions were? What do you remember like feeling? What do you remember about that moment? I mean, it's still so much of the 14 and 15 seasons stand out so much to our fans here as pivotal moments that they remember where they were watching the game. They remember like moments from that. So I want to hear from you. What do you remember from that game?
I remember probably going back to Game 6. That was memorable. Ventura pitched an incredible game, and we all remember him, and bless his family and his memory and the domination that he had and just the way the team won that game. So we knew there was a Game 7 24 hours ahead of time, right? Because the way the offense hit the ball and the way he was pitching. When the game was over, I was hanging out with a friend of mine, Jeff Miller. We hung out in the dugout afterward, and we were there till most of the people had cleared out of the stadium. And I remember one of the reporters saying, tomorrow's Game 7, don't you got to get home and rest up? And I told him, I said, you know what? This is what I would do on any other game if I had a friend here. I'm not treating it any different. Tomorrow's Game 7, but it's not like I'm going to run home and go to bed at 11:30 and be asleep. I'm going to stay up and watch SportsCenter 100 different times and probably fall asleep at 2 a.m. anyhow. So I'm doing what I do. So I hung out with Jeff and we just prepared. And then the next morning, I did what I'd always did, which has been documented, but I mowed my lawn, which was important. Got to have a good, clean lawn. And that was a big yard. We lived at the National in Parkville. And so I had to mow that in the morning. Then I had to go get my Chipotle, my chicken bowl. Chicken bowl with the little vinaigrette sauce, which is key, as well as chips to dip it in. And then I went to the field and I cut my hair. So I have to mow the grass, I have to mow my hair, and then go out and pitch. So I was caught off guard by the amount of fans that were there early. I don't know if they opened the gates earlier than normal or if it was when they always opened them, but certainly in a regular game, fans don't show up until 6:45, 7 o'clock, even after the game begins. But in this one, when I went out to warm up at whatever time it was, 45 minutes before the game, the fans were packed in. They were already like chanting and screaming. And so that was a little bit different feel. That made me a little bit unsettled. And once I got on the mound, I really did feel like the stadium was spinning around me. It was a little bit disconcerting. But when I threw the first pitch, in my mind, I said, I've never had a problem throwing strikes. Just please be near the glove. Don't hit the backstop. Don't hit the net. Don't throw it over the catcher's head. Throw it near his glove. And I did. It was a strike. And at that point, everything just kind of disappeared. All the nerves were gone, and it was like any other game.
Yeah. You mentioned like the buzz and everyone being there so early. Kansas City people love their Royals. They love their sports teams, and that people think back so fondly during that time. It's so special to us. And you got to experience some of that, just recently. You were here for Locaine Night, and you were a part of that, and he's so beloved. Like Gordo, everyone is so beloved from that time period. And for you're forever a part of that. You're forever like in the hearts of, the fans who brought that special time here to Kansas City. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think when you step away from it, you recognize, I think in the moment, just like anyone, you can take it for granted. And whether you're a fan, a player, or someone in the front office or a coach, that's always a risk for any human to take it for granted. So coming back now and seeing Locaine have his celebration as he retired, and just having fans come up to you and their parents, essentially it puts kids in a bunch of weird positions. I've seen, I don't know how many parents say, you were like 3 years old when this guy was pitching and it was such a big deal when he took you to the World Series game, and the kid's like, I kind of care, but I don't really care, Dad. But it's really just the dad or the mom that's so excited. But you realize that it just had a monumental impact on their lives. And as I reflect on it, it had a monumental impact on me and my family. And so being here, they'll never forget, right? Yeah. I think the slogan that year, if I'm not mistaken, was it Forever Royal in 15 or was Forever Royal the next year? I don't know. I'm not sure. Do we know the years on those?
Yeah, we can. Was it Forever Royal, Stephen? What do we got?
15 was Forever Royal. 15 was Forever Royal.
Forever Royal.
I feel like that is as alive and well and real as any theme this organization has ever had. And I feel Forever Royal, and I feel that connection with millions of people that are Forever Royal.
Oh my gosh. We need to change the topic before I start tearing up. It's just so sweet to hear you say that back and to have your admiration. It's just beaming from you. So I love that. I want to hear some about where your love from sneakers came from, because you are a sneakerhead in the fullest sense.
I am. I take great satisfaction in when someone says you're the original sneakerhead of baseball. I don't know if I am or not, but I like when people have said that.
Well, let's do it right here. We're dubbing him in this room. You got our vote.
So I have a pair of signed KC Sabathia Air Jordan 11 cleats, and he put on there to the OG of sneakers in MLB. So I mean, Sabathia is. Oh
my God, that's an honor.
He's up there. In fact, he's probably higher than me. He's on the Rushmore of sneakerheads, if you will, and one of the all-time greats on the mound, as well as one of the first Jordan athletes. So CC is an awesome guy all the way around, and I respect him so much. So to have him say that means a lot. But I remember sneakers when I was young. My first recollection of caring about sneakers was when I was 7 years old. My brother was a ninth grader at Joe Lane Junior High in Roseburg, Oregon, and the school colors were red, white, and black. And that was either the first or second year of the Air Jordan 1, because he wore it for 2 seasons. And their team all wore the Air Jordan 1. And it just looked so classy. The standard Chicago colorway, the white, red, and black. And I said, I want a pair of those. And so I got a little small pair from when I was 7 years old. And in those days, the GS sizes, or the kid sizes, said Sky Jordan instead of Air Jordan on the wings. And so that was my very first pair of shoes that I really cared about. Probably my first non-Payless Shoe Source Pro Wings, which is what I wore forever. I used to wear, if you were my age, 44 or around that age, they used to sell Pro Wings with these little turf knobby bottoms. And for whatever reason, I thought those were the greatest shoes. So I wore Pro Wings turfs for like 6 consecutive years, sprinkled in with this Air Jordan 1 Sky Jordan. And so it started there. And once I learned about who Michael Jordan was, the sneaker became more than just a sneaker, but it represented an approach to life. It represented being a champion. It represented blood, sweat, and tears. It represented so much. And so I became a Michael Jordan fan, which inherently made me a Nike fan. Mm-hmm. And being from Oregon, that was already probably in my blood. And so from that time forward, I was fortunate enough to get a couple more Air Jordans. I got an Air Jordan 7 when I was in 8th grade. I got an Air Jordan 11 when I was a junior in high school, and I kept all those shoes. I have all of my originals still. So my 1989 or my 1991 Air Jordan 7s are obliterated. I ended up getting a pair of Jordan 4s from my brother, kept those, and they're literally falling apart, but I still have them. And I have my Air Jordan 11s that I wore, my white black Concords. And not to bore you, but that's where it all comes from seeing it on my brother's feet with his team, to watching Michael Jordan become a champion, to wanting just to represent the brand and the sneakers the best way I could. Yeah, you have such a collection, and you're truly like passionate about it. Like I know some people like maybe have them as like a sign of status or something, but you can tell, because I'll go up and ask you, and I'll just be like, tell me about these shoes. And you have like a soliloquy about each pair you wear. And I don't think I've seen you wear the same pair twice when you come here. No, I haven't. You're right. My goal when I took on the broadcasting job, I knew I'd do around 50 games. I said, I'm never going to wear the same shoe twice. So here I am. Here you are. Day 30 of my job, and new pair of shoes today too. Yeah, you have a story for like each of them, and like tell me specific little things. And sometimes it'll be like the same design, but it'll be like a different color, whatever it is. And it'll be the littlest difference, and you'll like point it out, and I'll be like, he's right. Like, that is the difference. Like, it's crazy. You are very much like, you can tell you're passionate about it, and it's such a cool thing. My wife said one of my favorite lines ever. My wife once said, Jeremy knows more about sneakers than I know about anything. Oh. And I think that might actually be true, although she's very intelligent and puts a lot of time into a lot of things. But she said, I know more about sneakers than she knows about anything in this world. What does your collection look like? It looks beautiful. It's very colorful. I've gotten into lately I've gotten into Kobe's. Okay. They're going to start retroing Kobe's again for the first time in a few years, but I love bright colors. I just bought a pair of blue ones that were made for Devin Booker for the Olympics when he wore those last Olympic Games, and they're shiny and beautiful. And I bought some purple ones and some red ones. So I like colors more than I used to like colors. Yeah, and I've asked you before too, some shoes, unbeknownst to me, because I'm just a regular person when it comes to shoes, but some shoes are not for wearing. Some shoes are only for being looked at. Well,
I remember you
a
telling me
lot of
this.
people would not prescribe to that. Some of the big, some people really profess wear your sneakers, and I would like that as well, but I also have thousands, so I don't wear them, or hundreds, so I don't wear them all. But yeah, some shoes are worth a lot of money, and so it's like, do you want to wear them or not wear them? Because once you wear them, it's like a new car. Once you take it off the lot, it's not a new car any longer. So at some point, you can't wear all your shoes, and so they are an investment. So maybe it's not wise to wear them one time and decrease the value, but maybe they just stay on the wall as like a showpiece.
Yeah, it's like women in purses. I feel like maybe I'm not a big purse person, but I know some people have like purses, and it's like, oh, you don't use that one. Like you just look at it.
I've never heard that. The purses, yeah, that's interesting, but why not? I mean,
yeah, you don't use it. You just look at it.
If you collect something, there's always the chance that you're never going to use it.
Yes.
You're just going to look at it and admire it.
What is your most prized sneaker?
Probably the Air Jordan 9 cleat that I bought. I actually got this from the clubhouse manager in Chicago. And at the time when he was younger, he worked for Michael Jordan specifically. He was in charge of washing Michael's Corvette and buying McDonald's for Michael and the team. And
Wow.
That's what he said were his biggest responsibilities. I had to make sure that Michael's Corvette was clean, and I had to go get all the McDonald's when he wanted to buy food for the guys. And so he held on to these for a number of years, and he knew my passion for sneakers. And so one time he said, hey, I want to show you a pair and just see if you're interested. I have kids that are getting older. They're going to college. I've held on to these for a lot of years. I think I'm ready to part with them. And so they are signed by Michael Jordan. They have 2 zeros on the back instead of the 45, which he wore, because they were the very first pair given to him when he didn't have a number assigned. Nike didn't know what he was going to wear. So they said, well, we'll just put 00 on the heel first until you get your number. And that's when he got his new ones. He told this clubhouse worker, he said, take these, get rid of them. I don't need them anymore. He actually said, go throw them away. And the guy was smarter than that. He said, okay, Michael, I'll go throw them away. And then he came back the next day and said, will you please sign them? And Michael said, I should have just thrown them away myself and signed them reluctantly and then gave them back to him.
Oh,
and
my
so
gosh.
that's my most prized pair of shoes, I think. I retired from sneaker collecting back in 2014, but I came out of retirement like 2 weeks later. And people call my bluff on that retire all the time.
Yeah, I don't buy it. Another thing that you retired from baseball, but you still play. Most recently, you've been playing for with the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah.
How did you get hooked up with them? And I mean, you're still pitching. You're still doing stuff.
I am. Yeah, retirement, maybe that's not a good word for me.
It's really not for
in my
you.
vocabulary.
No.
It goes back to November. The Alumni Association, so the Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association, made an agreement with Savannah to play 3 games against them. And they were soliciting players. They said, who wants to come pitch? And I had not pitched or thrown a baseball really at all in 5 years, since I retired in 2017. But I was the first to raise my hand. I'll pitch for you guys and play against the Bananas. And my wife had already introduced me to the Bananas, and we had been following them. So we were excited about it. So I started playing catch with my good friend, former teammate with the Baltimore Orioles, Brian Burris. He's an Oregonian and Portland guy. We played catch every day in November, December, January, and I was feeling good. And so I pitched in March against the Bananas. It went pretty well, and my arm felt good. I threw 3 innings, like 65 pitches. And I said, well, the next game's in April, so I guess I can't stop throwing. I have to keep throwing. So I kept throwing, and then through to high school teams, through to friends, through to anyone that would ever want to be thrown to. And now I'm 4 games deep in the Savannah Bananas career. I pitched here in Kansas City with the Bananas, so that's even more fun than pitching against the Bananas. And I throw sometimes to the Royals hitters, and I have a game this Friday, Friday, July 21st against I think it's against the Party Animals, but it's in Rancho Cucamonga, California. Okay. So I stay in, they get me my number. I got a jersey, I got a Bananas jersey, and frankly, people probably know me more now as a Bananas pitcher than anything else, because I'm too old to be recognized as a Royals pitcher outside of Kansas City.
You're not too old.
Outside of KC, no one probably recognizes me, but if I tell them the Bananas, they go bananas if I tell them I pitch for them.
Of course, they're onto something there. They're doing a great job, and it's fun that you can still pitch. Like you said, you still got it. If you can still do it and have fun with it, like why the heck not?
Got it means I can still throw it over the plate.
Yes, you do.
And not have my arm fall off. So yes, I do got it.
I see you pitch to some of our guys sometimes, and you look like a player out there to me. So I think you're doing great, and I think it's good that you get to stick with it, and they're doing such a fun thing with baseball there. So that's awesome. Now, you this year are newly back with the organization in the broadcast role. I want to talk about that more because, being here as a player is one thing. To come back in the broadcast role, what's that been like? I mean, there's some things I'm sure that are just like yesterday. You know what I mean? Coming back to Kauffman Stadium, coming into the clubhouse, things like that. Even some of the people, you know, Davy and some of those people who've been here forever. What's it been like coming back, but in this new role?
Number one is it's just so great to be around baseball, to see, like you said, whether it's staff members, coaches, players. There's not many players that still play since I last played, but you know, Salvi's one guy still here in Kansas City, and there's a few sprinkled around the league, but it's just fun to be around the game. I think that's what first impacted me, and now I get to watch the game, and I have to watch the game with a lot more intent and be prepared. I need to know things about the opposing team, certainly need to know things about what's happening with the Kansas City Royals, and so that's been great to invest and kind of follow the game more closely than I have since I retired. And just baseball is such a big family and so much fun that I just feel like I'm back with my family. When I was down in Houston, for example, and a friend of mine in Houston saw me go up and talk to Dusty Baker, who was my last manager for my one big league game with the Washington Nationals, and Pedro Grifal was there. They opened against Houston. It was opening weekend down in April in Houston. And so I get to see Pedro, and a few players came over and said hi to me, and he looked at me and said, "You are just in your element once again." He says, "You are back where you belong, being in baseball and being around all these baseball people." And that's what it's felt like. When it comes to the broadcast team, Ryan Lefevre is, I consider, one of the best in the game. Mm-hmm. And so even listening to him as a player, you can imagine, like, that would be fun to work with him. He's so witty. He's really sarcastic, really a dry sarcasm that I love. And HUD's so welcoming, so passionate. And I get to work with Joel Goldberg, who there's no one better at what he does. His on-field reporting, his pre and post game, and Monty helps me out a ton. So I'm just a part of a group of guys, not to mention my radio partners, Jake Eisenberg and Eric Guthrie and Steve Stewart. These guys are all awesome, and they make it really easy for me. So I'm learning. I consider myself not very good at what I do, but I like to do it, and I'm willing to try to get better. So
I think you're being a little too harsh of a critic. I think it's definitely different going from playing, and then with broadcasting, there's so much of like explaining and giving like critiques or even just giving insight to the fans. So it's definitely different. And when we had Monty on to talk to him, he said the same thing, that there was a transition for him, but that it just takes repetition and getting used to it. But he also is just such a baseball guy, and the nuts and bolts of baseball he loves, and I can see that same thing from you. And so it just takes time to refine that. But I can tell you this much: our fans have loved like having you back and hearing your voice and just having you as part of the broadcast. I know that they've really loved that, having you back and that part that you bring to the table. So give yourself some credit. You're doing great. It takes time, and we're happy to have you back, and it's nice to have your voice there. And even to see you on the sidelines down in the dugout, I think the guys relate to you in a different way because you were a former player not that long ago.
Yeah.
So I know you have that relationship with them that can be really helpful, and you can just connect with them on a different level. Now, I know that you travel a lot, and you've done a lot of I'm not even just saying like to Florida or to Texas, or like you traveled the world. Why is travel such an important like thing to you? And is there any place you've traveled to that you like you haven't traveled to but you want to get to?
Yeah, so let me travel might be my greatest passion.
Yes.
I really love travel, and I love meeting people. This all started when I was a missionary. It was the first time I really left, let's say, North America, because I'd been to Canada before. But I lived in Spain for 2 years and didn't speak the language at all, didn't know anything about Spain, thought it was going to be like Mexico, like any other ignorant kid from Oregon. And it wasn't. You know, Spain is very much Europe and very different from those other cultures. But I just learned to appreciate the differences. I learned to appreciate the language, and I love speaking Spanish. I speak it almost every single day since I learned it 24 years ago. And so being there for 2 years, it just became a part of me. So when I returned and kind of got back into college and then was given other chances to travel, I jumped on it. And so most of it came through baseball. Baseball facilitated travel around the world. For baseball reasons, I've been to 25 countries, I think, and either pitched in those countries or taught baseball or been part of some program that was related to baseball and sports. And so I've been to places like Nigeria, some of the more surprising ones. People say, oh, you've been to Colombia, or if you've been to Dominican for baseball. That doesn't surprise me, but Nigeria is a really unique one. I pitched in Australia. Mm-hmm. I have been to all of Europe, really, from the Netherlands to Italy to Spain. But I think one of the more impressive ones, one of the more unique ones was Bulgaria. Mm-hmm. And I went there this year. And Bulgaria has a really amazing story about baseball. And I won't bore you with all the details, but it comes down to their relationship with Cuba 40 years ago, and they would do student exchanges. And some of the students who went to Cuba, you know, fell in love with baseball and brought it back to Bulgaria. And so baseball in Bulgaria has really nice roots with some real great passion. And the players over there love the game. They play softball and baseball. And that was a total surprise to me. So I think I just love being places where, you know, you have to respect and honor the people who are from there and depend on them and learn a lot about them, learn about their culture and their food and just the way they live their lives. And that to me is something that really fills my cup and just gets me excited about things.
Yeah, you know, I was prepping for this this interview, and I was telling a coworker, I was like, yeah, he's a really big traveler too, and they're like, oh, like we're, and I was like, no, like the world. Like I think sometimes when you say like traveling, people are like, oh, he went to Mexico, went to Cancun, goes to Cancun every year or something like that, and I'm like, no, this guy travels the world like constantly. Doing these types of things. And I totally agree. It gives you perspective on your life, what you have, but it also just gives you a chance to see how the rest of the world operates and how they think of things and different food. Yeah. Dance. I love the food. The food for me, I will eat anything. In fact, the weirder it is, the more I'm excited about it. All right.
First time we went to Paris years ago, my wife and I had met a friend who gave me all of these things. Pretty much she gave me a checklist. Do this, see this, eat this. And so we just went through and checked off as many as we could in 3 days. And one of the things was, I can't pronounce it, but it's called andouillette de trois. It was essentially like, it was a meat. And I asked the person, I said, how is andouillette de trois? And like, well, they told me what it was, but they, you know, what is the word? Translated the word and told me. And I said, would I like that? And they said, no, we don't recommend that. And I said, why not? And they said, it's really for, it's an old food for shepherds that live in the mountains. And it's not something that tourists usually like to eat. And I said, I'll take it. Yeah. And so it was this weird sausage, and it really smelled like a farm. And all the ingredients of what you would smell on a farm, especially if you were close to animals that had just eaten. It smelled a lot like that. And I looked at it and said, that just smells terrible. My wife says, it is terrible. Send it back, get something better. I said, I'm going to eat it. And so I started eating it one bite at a time. And I got about halfway through, and she's never not seen me complete a meal. And I tapped out. And halfway through, I said, I'm out. I can't eat this any longer. And I gave up on it. And so it was the worst thing I've ever had in my life.
What was it?
It was just sausage stuffed with a bunch of things. And I don't know.
A bunch of things.
If I had to guess, it was stuffed with cow pie and intestines and brain. Yeah. That's what it tasted like. A good combination of the three.
You know, when I'm traveling, I always say, when in doubt, do as the locals do. But if the locals were telling you you're nuts, maybe you should rethink that. The locals, I wasn't talking to shepherds on the mountain with their sheep. I was talking to a nice guy at the restaurant, and probably should have went with his recommendation. I was going to say, he tried to steer you right and you didn't listen. Yeah.
But the food is good. So I love food anywhere. We just went to Cambodia this past year.
Oh, amazing.
Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Myanmar.
Love it.
The food over there was just...
Did you go see Angkor Wat?
Yes, we did. Incredible.
I've also been there.
Oh, you've been there?
Yeah, fascinating.
Oh, it was amazing. Isn't it fascinating?
Beautiful. It's kind of hard to wrap your brain around all of it.
Yeah, you really can't.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to our lightning round. We could talk about traveling and all this other stuff forever, but these lightning round questions are hard-hitting journalism. So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's go.
What is your coffee order?
I don't drink coffee.
Oh my gosh, stop.
Yes, super easy. Look at that. Passed right through it.
How do you get up in the morning?
I open my eyes, brush my teeth, usually.
Okay.
A cup of water, and I'm ready to go.
Wow, that's so healthy.
I don't even need sleep. My wife says I don't need sleep, and she's right. I just don't need it.
Really?
Never needed it.
How many hours of sleep a night do you get?
Depends. Anywhere between 3 and 6.
What?
But when you travel all over the world, like at one point I traveled to Bulgaria. I flew home. I did 3 games on the broadcast and flew back to Spain for a week. And I think I slept like a total of 10 hours in 6 days one time. And just make it work, you know?
Gutsy, 3 to 6. That's a nap for me.
I know.
That's a nap.
You just need air and water. If you had air and water, you can live in this world. And so that's all I'm looking for. No
politely
coffee.
disagree.
No, coffee's not even needed. Try it. Just air and water. That's all you need. Just like your car.
All right.
Yeah, that's all you need.
All right. There you go. All right. You can only wear one pair of sneakers for the rest of your life. Which one are you going with?
Presto Off-White Nikes.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but I'm taking your word that those are really legit. Household chore that you hate?
Cleaning toilets.
Word. I hear that. Someplace you want to visit that you haven't already. I think I already asked you. What did you end up telling us?
I want to go to South Africa.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Teammate that has left a lasting impression on you?
Many, but let me go with James Shields.
Okay. Do you want to tell us why?
I love Shieldsy. He came over, and I feel like he changed my approach to winning and to playing the game of baseball. But I feel like overall he changed the entire organizational's approach and the whole team. And he was a polarizing figure. And I think leaders have to be that way. Leaders are polarizing. They have to be loud. They have to be convicted. And not everyone wants someone to push you that way. But I have no doubt in my mind that he helped lead us to what we accomplished in 2014. And even when he was gone in 15, I think his impact and what the traditions he helped us form led us to a World Series in 2015. And granted, you don't take anything away from the players and the performances and the coaches, but I think our minds were completely altered by the way he lived his life and the way he led our team.
That's so cool. Tell us a movie you can watch over and over again.
Serendipity.
That's such a good movie.
The best. It's my favorite.
John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale.
Yes. Little known fact, by the way. Do you know they spent time filming together? It was like less than a day and a half that they actually filmed together on set in New York.
No way.
And if you think about it, they spent time on the park bench in Bloomingdale's and Serendipity.
Yeah.
And you know they filmed Bloomingdale's and Serendipity just back to back because they're so close to each other, and then the park bench, and they're never together otherwise.
Well, you're right, because they're trying to get their way back to each other.
Yeah.
Really good movie if you guys haven't seen it. It's a chick flick. I'm surprised.
It is rom-com, big rom-com guy.
Oh, right.
How good is Jeremy Piven though in that movie as
So
well?
good.
My favorite scene in the entire movie, two of them. Number one, when he kicks the snow and he has to apologize to the person that walks by him when his dream girl leaves. And then the second part is when they're in the Social Security office trying to get information on Sarah, trying to learn where she is. And John Cusack just learns over, tell him why he's wrong. And he goes into this big, long spiel about how he's trying to protect the no, I can't even say the word, but it's really funny.
Great movie.
Serendipity is a classic. You got to go watch it.
I agree. What is playing in your car? Music, podcast? What are you listening to?
Right now, good question. Geez, what is playing in my car? Probably Amy Shark or Taylor Swift as I prepare for the big concert this weekend.
Yes, respect.
Yeah.
All right, last question is the best question. What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Just focus on relationships more. And that's still a challenge for me. I can, it's easy to meet someone new, but really diving into the relationships and getting to know people and keeping those alive. I feel like I do it well sometimes, but I would love to do it even better. And so I think I would tell myself, enjoy the ride and enjoy it, invest with the people you get to go on the ride with.
Amazing. Gutsy, thank you so much for being here. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. You're a great baseball player, but you're an even better person. And I wholeheartedly believe that 100%. And I think everyone else who comes in contact with you also believes that as well.
Well, I appreciate it. And honestly, to your point, it's not hard to be a better person than baseball player because...
Stop.
So I'll give you that one.
My gosh, you guys.
No, but you're very kind. I appreciate you having me on, and thanks for this time together and for all the kind words.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I've been your host, Carrie Lippert-Gillespie. Make sure you subscribe, tune in, because we'll be back with more episodes all the time. We'll see you again very soon.